Hey everyone, it's meteorologist Jacob Wyckoff here at WBZ, joined by our executive weather producer, Terry Ellison. Honored to be with you this Tuesday morning. We're streaming live on CBS News Boston and on YouTube Live. So with YouTube, they have the functionality that you can chime in and ask your questions to us. But Terry, we're starting to do these more often with the incoming storms. We want to get out to the people and have them chime in and kind of do a deeper dive into weather than we can do in our newscasts.
Yeah, I think there's lots of interest around this storm. I think simply because the S word is involved.
Yeah.
When snow's involved any time of year, but especially in April, kids out playing soccer, baseball, all kinds of things, spring things going on.
Yep.
And you know, we've got a multifaceted kind of kitchen sinky kind of storm coming up.
Yep.
Just what the doctor ordered. Of course, we don't have really any snow in the month of March. I can't even remember the last time it snowed.
Yeah, Boston didn't have any.
And here we go. April shows up, and again, right off the bat, we should say we're not expecting a major snowstorm in the Boston area or even in the nearby suburbs, but we do have a snow accumulation map, and it is April 2nd. So.
Absolutely, yeah. With no snow in March, do you think people just kind of got complacent a little bit? It can snow in April. It can snow in April.
Sure, it can snow in May.
Right.
I think it was 76 or 78. I'm putting myself on the spot. May 10th it snowed. So it can happen. And I think it was, maybe it was 6 years or so ago, we had a decent snow in April. So it does happen.
It does happen, yeah.
But more so, and we'll get into the specifics, but more so, and this time of year you really need certain things to go your way or not go your way, depending upon how you look at it, to get snow, and that's certain things like elevation, time of day, all those types of things.
Yep.
You know, needs
a really cold air mass in place. Yeah,
needs to snow at the right time of day, at the right intensity, and even more so for if you live a little bit of elevation helps a lot this time of year as far as snow goes.
For sure. And so I mentioned it off the top that we are streaming on YouTube Live, and so at times we'll be looking down at a phone to monitor comments. Yeah. Please don't think that we're ignoring each other or ignoring you at home. We're definitely trying to plug in to reach you where you are. So let's hop into it. Let's show Futurecast. And you know, one thing that Terry, we were looking at right before we were going on is some of the newest models coming in a bit colder potentially than what we thought. So we're going to monitor that trend or at least that blip very closely.
Yeah, the advantage that we have today as opposed to yesterday when we were talking about the storm is that a lot of the high resolution models are now starting to come in, or we're starting to get within their range. The higher resolution models tend to go out further in time. So within 48 hours, which we are now, we have a lot more data to work with, and so we're starting to see some of that high-res data come in, and a little bit of a change in the last, just in the last run we saw for late Wednesday night and Thursday morning.
So let's take it sort of hour by hour or timeline-wise. Tonight, some showers start to break out for parts of the area. It's not a washout of an evening. It's some scattered showers, mainly south and really west of Boston.
Yeah, not even really. It's almost like a little break-off piece from the actual storm. The storm is going to still be out in the Midwest. We got a little piece of that breaks off with some showers this afternoon and this evening, mostly southwestern parts of the area. You can see a little bit up towards Boston, but if you live up in Essex County, southern New Hampshire, you may not see anything. And again, it's just rain, and it's just kind of like an appetizer.
Right.
Wet the palate a little bit.
Sure. Gets you in the mood. We do have, by the time we get into tomorrow, kids go into school. At the moment, the thinking is that they'll probably maybe not need the rain gear for the morning, but certainly as we go further and further into the day, they're going to need that, whether it is actual rain or perhaps a changeover to sleet or some frozen precipitation.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a change from yesterday. I think a little bit of a later start time tomorrow. So you can see on the graphics, there's really not much going on tomorrow morning. And it may take until midday, even early afternoon in some areas, to start to see some of the rain come in. And it's not going to come in like a wall. It'll kind of gradually, we get some showers, and then by later in the afternoon, we get into like the meat or the brunt of the storm.
And one thing we're watching closely in any winter storm is the amount of sleet. That absolutely destroys a snowfall forecast. Sleet is a tricky thing to forecast, but snowfall is as well. Sleet is, I think, going to play a predominant role in a lot of locations, really kind of west and a little bit north of Boston.
Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar, I know we've had this discussion several times before about sleet. And what happens is with sleet, you get a warm nose, like a layer. In this case, it's going to be about between 5,000 and 10,000 feet up, or as we say, near 700 millibars. A little warm nose coming in and basically above freezing. So the snow falls into that warmer air, melts into raindrops. So about 7,000, 8,000 feet up, it'll actually be raining. But then, as it continues to fall, the air gets colder again, and it freezes, so the snow chances are done, but you have the water now freezing into ice pellets. So that's kind of what's happening. It's snowing into a milder air mass, which melts it to rain, which then falls into a colder air mass again, which means it falls on the ground level as sleet or ice pellets. Right off the side of the house. Certainly not as dangerous as freezing rain. And again, doesn't accumulate like snow does.
Right, and as Terry mentioned, freezing rain, pretty dangerous, but when it comes to sleet, a little bit less dangerous, and that can wreck our snowfall forecasts pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Let me hop back into the timeline of things. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so again, tomorrow afternoon and evening, it's a lot of rain in eastern Mass. It's a mix of rain, maybe some wet flakes, a lot of sleet in northwest of Boston, northwest of 495, a lot of pinging off the windows, off the cars. And then I think the real question is, what happens after midnight into Thursday morning? This, to me, is the biggest wild card, and what we saw today in some of the high-res models was a little bit of a colder, and we're talking about temperatures still near or slightly above freezing, but every degree really counts.
Yep.
When you're talking about sleet versus snow.
And also, at nighttime, it's not battling the insulation, it's not battling the higher sun angle,
Right.
so it has less things going against it. It can and has snowed at 35 degrees and it can accumulate, but it's coming off of two also milder days. So we've got a lot of balancing acts that we have to contend with a little bit.
Yeah, and this is basically the battle that's going to be going on in the weather office for the next 48 hours is, you, me, Eric, just basically Jason in the morning trying to figure out, okay, so when does the rain change to sleet? When does the sleet change to snow? Does it? Where does it? Does it accumulate? These are complex things any time of year, but this time of year with, like you said, you're battling daytime, daytime versus nighttime. You're battling, warm ground. Even if so our futurecast shows it's snowing.
Pausing this at 10:30.
Yeah.
Is this accumulating in Boston?
Unlikely.
Right.
But
flakes falling, but perhaps not accumulating.
Exactly. And I think, again, during the daytime in April, if it's snowing out and it's 30, those temperatures may be a little bit high. We just saw on one of our high-res models 32, 33 degrees in like Fitchburg, Lawrence area. So if it's coming down hard enough, it may start to accumulate Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon. We may have to, so we had a 1 to 3 inch line, a forecast line that was in northern Worcester County. We may have to extend that over to, say, Essex County, northern Worcester County. So that 1 to 3 inch line that you see, that light blue, I'm wondering if we may have later today, given some of the colder solutions on the high-res models, that we may have to pull that down into like Lawrence and Westford and areas like that for Thursday morning.
All things considered, when it comes to snow in a coating to an inch or 1 to 3, maybe not the biggest threats that they may be facing, because we also have some soaking rains and also the wind too.
Lot to break down. Of course, we're focused on the snow because that's why everybody, probably you're not tuned in because we're talking about another inch or two of rain. You're tuned in because you heard the snow word, right? So we tend to focus on it, but it is certainly not the only hazard. We're talking, the wind at the coast, and also even in some of the higher elevated areas, could be pretty nasty.
Absolutely.
Wednesday night into Thursday.
I think that it's going to be howling Wednesday night into Thursday. I mean, kids waking up and going to the bus stop Thursday morning, you could see wind gusts 30 to 50 plus miles per hour. The Cape's going to be rocking too. Something that I've been watching very closely is all of the beach projects, the sand projects that they've been doing. I think when you have winds for a persistent period too, over 36 hours coming out from the east, it's just going to claw away at some of those sand dunes. So
here's a question that I got this morning, and I also got last night, and it was from my high schooler. Is there any chance, Dad, we could have a delay or no school on Thursday? And I'm like, I wouldn't count on it.
Right.
However, if if you get an inch or two of snow, and this is really for areas north and west of up 495, if you get an inch or two of pasty, wet snow, and that any snow that does fall Thursday morning is going to be very pasty, sticking on everything. That's the type of stuff that weighs down on the tree limbs and could cause some outages. If you start talking about tree damage and outages, there could be some schools that have issues Thursday morning.
Absolutely. Want to remind everyone, we're about 10 minutes in to our YouTube live broadcast. If you are tuned in on YouTube, feel free to chime in, ask a question. Would love to hear what you're thinking, any thoughts. If we have some meteorologists in the crowd that are watching, anything that you're seeing, and any viewers, what you're doing to prepare for this incoming storm. Do you think people got complacent in the month of March in that it was wet, don't get me wrong, but it was, I feel like, an easier month. Maybe I'm just blocking it out, but I feel like March overall it was wet.
Yeah.
One of the wettest months on record, but it was easy for us, I feel like.
We started out, I want to say the first 16, 17, 18 days were all above average temperature-wise. Now, sure, we had 5 pretty wet storms.
Right.
Some of the weekends were washed out. But as far as wet March weather goes, we've seen a lot worse. Basically no snow, no ice to deal with. It was more so if you had some basement flooding, maybe, or
which don't want to discount that for people because that's been rough.
Yeah, but as far as winter goes, I think people have sort of put that aside. Like, that's over with, forget it. And here it is. It's back.
Here we are. Yes. You mentioned some of those rains. I'm going to pull up a graphic that I think just is absolutely crazy to show some of the rainfalls that we've seen.
Yeah, so we should mention that, again, getting off the snow topic for a minute, probably 1 to 3 inches of water coming with this storm. So whether it's all rain for you, which would probably be the case along the coast and over southeastern Mass, over parts of Rhode Island, there's been quite a bit of river flooding down in Rhode Island the last month or so. So we're talking about, another couple inches of water just exacerbating those issues. And I just heard up in southern New Hampshire, they're going to be releasing some of the water that's held up in the dams to make room for more. So if you've had basement issues in the past couple of storms, you may have them again. This is more of a prolonged event, so I don't know that we're quite as concerned about like the localized street urban flooding stuff because it's happening over the course of several days as opposed to all in, say, 6 hours. But still, it's another couple inches of water.
Absolutely, and in the 2024 time span, so you're talking just over 3 months, we've had 9 soaking rains over 1 inch, and even a couple over 2 inches, 3 over 2 inches. And so, we get another 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain in Boston. It's absolutely what we don't need. Absolutely what we don't need.
Yeah, and again, we mentioned like the baseball fields, the soccer fields, the water table rising. I do think that there's hope that this pattern may be about to shift. Maybe that's for another podcast.
Sure.
But again, already we're one of the wettest Marches on record, one of the wettest Januarys on record, and now really one of the wettest first 3 months of the year in both Boston and Worcester.
But you mentioned it. It looks like sort of the atmospheric logjam or the roller coaster that we've been on is finally showing some signs of stopping as you get into perhaps next week, the end of next week.
We can hope, yes.
Yeah,
and I feel like we might have said that before. Although, actually, consider, I don't know if many folks remember February. February was very dry, very boring month.
Sure.
So we did have a little bit of a break, and it looks like perhaps after this storm goes by, we may get another break. But we should mention that while the peak of this storm is Wednesday night into Thursday, it doesn't just zip out of here either.
Right.
Unfortunately, Friday there'll probably be some leftover rain and snow showers. Saturday again. Nothing all that impactful, just more so kind of miserable, sunless days. We may not see like a lot of sunshine again until sometime Sunday afternoon, maybe not until Eclipse on Monday.
Yeah, so I wanted to show the 7-day forecast, and we do have a question from Wicked Weather on YouTube. Hey guys, winds are always too conservative, and these situations mostly overachieve. Are hurricane force winds possible for Cape Ann due to our damaging wind direction up here from the northeast? Thanks.
70 plus miles an hour, I think. I wouldn't rule it out completely. I think we're looking more so in the 50 to 60s, 50 to 65 range, which is no joke. I do think that Thursday morning, the storm's going to come up over us, and there's going to be almost like a little calm ahead forming that could be right over, say, the North Shore, Hampton, New Hampshire coast. So that high tide that's happening at say between 6:30 and 7:30 Thursday morning could be kind of nasty.
Yeah.
As that's, you know, you're going to be caught right in that sort of northwest corner of the storm where winds could be easily 50 to 65 miles an hour.
And we always get some really good observations from Cape Ann. We have a lot of great weather watchers across the area. Cape Ann is no exception to that. I think that what I've found is Cape Ann, it really depends on where you are as to what those wind gusts are.
Oh, no
and I guess
doubt.
that's the case for any place, but you know, if you're right on the water, that wind is hitting you, no friction coming off the ocean, you get those higher wind gusts. But as soon as you go inland, maybe 3 miles, then you don't feel it very much at all. So
True, but I mean, I think Cape Ann a little bit, but more so like Salisbury, Hampton, those areas in the northern Mass coastline up through like southern Maine have really been battered.
Oh my
all
gosh,
winter long.
yeah. Yep.
Battered all winter long. We've had several storms that have had like strong southeasterly winds, which is literally the worst case up there.
Yep.
And while this is more of a nor'easter, I still think those areas are going to get hit again with at least minor flooding Thursday morning.
Absolutely. So I wanted to show the 7-day forecast here because, as Terry mentioned, we have sort of an unsettled pattern starting this evening all the way into Saturday, and the next real chance to see some sun arrives Sunday. We were holding out hope for Saturday. It's looking like the storm is going to linger a little bit for Saturday. But by the time we get into Monday, at the moment, knock on wood, we look to be fairly clear and fairly dry for Eclipse Day, which is that 3 straight April 8th?
3 straight. Yeah.
Which, talk about breaking climatology, right?
Right. I think, you know, especially for northern New England, I think there's like something like 70 to 75% chance of being cloudy on that particular day.
Absolutely.
So that's why all along over the last several months, if you've heard us talking about the eclipse, and the reason why you're flying to Texas
Yep, exactly.
is because New England in April, especially northern New England, the chances of getting a sunny day are pretty low. But as of now, it kind of looks like this storm will pull away. This Wednesday, Thursday storm, which will linger into the weekend, should pull away in time for a relatively clear day here. And perhaps much more clear than, say, Texas.
Yeah. I have already warned my family that we may fly into Dallas and then hit the road and drive
So
to
how
the Ozarks or
far,
something.
so I was going to say, how far are you willing to, you're just going to drive until you get...
Within reason. I mean, I'm not driving back to New England or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I think that, you know, within 6 hours, that's reasonable, I think.
So the full eclipse is there, the totality is around what time in Dallas?
It's 1:30 in Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to be on you got to forecast early in the morning, and if you need to, be on the road pretty early.
I think my game plan will be Sunday, pretty much all day. I'll be on my computer, on my phone, forecasting. And then I think probably Sunday by 10 p.m., I'll probably hit the road for our next place and just be there. We'll find
your family.
you know, Humvees.
God bless your family.
They're very understanding of Daddy's passion of you know STEM and science and everything.
And I will say, it's worth it.
Yes,
we mentioned this yesterday, and we had another question. The producer in the morning meeting today said, "My husband's convinced that 95% is fine. We're going to put our glasses on. We're going to see an amazing sight." And sure, if you have the protective eyewear and you put them on and you're in Boston or the area and it's 93, 95% a totality, it'll be cool to look up at the sun with your glasses and see the moon over it, but it's not, it's just kind of like, oh, that's
it's not
cool.
the life-changing experience.
It's not 100% totality, which will up in Burlington, Vermont, Lancaster, New Hampshire, Caribou, Maine. That is a completely different, you know, set of circumstances. So if you can get there, you really should.
And if you can't get there, you'll have to wait 55 years.
Forget it. Yeah, I think most of us.
For the next time. Yeah.
So, and like we mentioned yesterday, I wouldn't plan on if you're thinking I'll go up Sunday, grab a hotel room. The rooms have been booked for like a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good luck. Maybe bring a tent and
there you go. Just camp out on Lake Champlain or something. No more questions at the moment. Any final words? We've been talking about 20 minutes now.
Yeah. So I would just say, in recapping the upcoming storm, maybe we could bring up the accumulation map again.
Absolutely.
I think again, what everybody wants to know is: am I going to have to shovel? Am I going to have to snow blow? Am I going to have to clean the car off? And I would say it's still highly elevation dependent. So if you are in northern Worcester County above 500 feet, say say Ashby, Ashburnham, those towns that got socked. If anyone remembers last March, they had almost 3 feet of snow up there.
I remember it.
Yeah, you were there.
I was there.
Those same towns could get hit again. I mean, they're not getting 3 feet, but they could get several inches of snow, and with the risk of power outages. The farther down you come in elevation, towards 495, say Westford, Chelmsford, still could see a slushy coating to an inch or two, and that's, again, the biggest wild card for me is Thursday morning. Do we have to bring that 1 to 3 inch line down a little bit into northern Middlesex and Essex County?
Yep, absolutely. And we'll be on top of this all afternoon. Eric will be following it. I'll have the news at noon in about 40 minutes here. Eric will be following it starting at 5 p.m. And stay here with WBZ for the latest forecast. Terry, great working behind the scenes. He pours over all the models that we don't have time for, so we appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's good to have as many hands as possible, especially in a storm situation like this. And I will say that our team we all work so well together, where there's a constant thread of communication with Eric and Jason and you and myself, and that's what it takes. I mean, it's such a complex situation. It really takes a lot of teamwork.
Yeah, a lot of eyeballs.
A lot of eyeballs.
Because there's so many things that you can look over. Someone, Bob, will leave with this comment. The blizzard of 78 reincarnated. Maybe not so much, Bob.
I'm hoping he's being sarcastic.
Yeah, I think he is, yes. But we appreciate everyone tuning in on YouTube Live. We're going to do more of these. So if there is anything that you'd like to see, please let us know. We'll try to bring that to you. But for now, for Terry Ellison, I'm meteorologist Jacob Wyckoff. Guys, have a great day.
Stay safe.